4 Golden Rules for Finding Fish Nests in Wild Fishing. Choosing a fishing spot is a basic skill for anglers. The simplest requirement is not to seek convenience, but to walk around and observe more, especially when using the suspended lead fishing method. If you carry a lot of equipment, changing fishing spots will be a huge waste of time. Regarding the selection of fishing spots, there is a folk saying that one spends a lifetime choosing fishing spots because factors such as temperature, weather, and time of day will cause the location of fish to vary, and it will never be exactly the same every day. To choose a suitable fishing spot, you need to understand the habits of fish and know how weather, water temperature, and dissolved oxygen affect these habits. 3 Tendencies. The so-called 3 tendencies refer to the characteristics of fish to chase temperature, oxygen, and food. The location of fish is mostly related to these 3 factors. In fact, we also need to add the factor of safety. Fish prefer to hide in places where they feel safe. When the weather is hot, look for cool places. For example, in summer and early autumn, under bridges, near sluices, and at inlets and outlets are good choices. When the temperature is cold, look for warm places. For example, in winter and early spring, look for deep water obstacles such as hidden aquatic plants in sunny and sheltered locations, or underwater ditches and pits. When the temperature is neither too cold nor too hot, fishing is easier, and it is definitely a time when fish are actively foraging. At this time, you should consider the impact of food distribution on the location of fish. In high temperature seasons, look for places with low water temperature and high dissolved oxygen. In mild temperatures, look for places with abundant food. In low temperature seasons, look for places with high water temperature. 2 Terrain. All good fishing spots must have terrain that differs from the surrounding area. The selection of terrain emphasizes being unique. From a terrain perspective, there are roughly fish paths and fish nests. For example, points, promontories, wide to narrow transitions, both sides of bays, and junctions of large and small water areas are classic fish path terrains. Aquatic plants, bridge piers, stumps, large turbid water bays, and slopes are typical fish nest terrains. Fish path terrains are better during feeding times, such as early morning and evening in summer. In spring and autumn, when fish feed more actively, fish path terrains are chosen more often than fish nest terrains. During the daytime in summer, when fish are basically resting, fish nest terrains are better. The problem is that many anglers pay too much attention to terrain, often putting the cart before the horse. Terrain is definitely not the first step in choosing a fishing spot. For example, a point on the upwind side and one on the downwind side will be completely different due to climatic conditions. Therefore, you should first check factors such as wind direction and orientation to find an ideal location, and then look for suitable terrain within that location. 3 Depth and distance. The depth and distance of the fishing spot change throughout the day. Sometimes the terrain is completely correct, but if the depth is wrong, there will still be no bites. A classic saying is fish move 3 times a day, fish near the shore in the morning and evening, which clearly means fishing in shallow water in the morning and evening, and deep water during the day. The reason is that fish mostly feed in the morning and evening and rest during the day. Since food is distributed in shallow water, fish are fished in shallow water when feeding and in deep water when resting. What about winter? Especially early winter, it is obviously better to fish in deep water in the morning and evening, and shallow water at noon. It can be seen that whether to fish in deep or shallow water needs to consider many factors such as water temperature and weather. From a seasonal perspective, there are more opportunities to fish in shallow water only in spring and autumn. In summer, without rain or rising water, fish in deep water except in the morning and evening. In early winter, shallow water warms up more than deep water, so you can safely fish in shallow water, but in severe winter, deep water is warmer than shallow water, so you should fish in deep water. 4 Old fishing spots. Old fishing spots deserve a separate discussion. Should you choose them? It actually depends on the season and target fish. Generally speaking, because an old fishing spot is often fished, there are often many baits underwater. Over time, many fish develop the habit of coming here to forage. Maybe the terrain is not a fish path or a fish nest, it is simply rich in food. Food and terrain can create artificial fish nests. For example, when wild fishing for big fish, continuously build a nest in one location. When fishing for mandarin fish, throw some stones and bricks on the bank of the river section where mandarin fish live. It is generally believed that old fishing spots are unlikely to result in an empty catch, but the fish in old fishing spots are often cunning, and there are not many large ones. They can ensure a harvest, but the quality cannot be guaranteed. Old fishing spots should not be fished in winter, or at least not frequently. This is because winter fishing mainly targets crucian carp, which have low activity due to low temperatures and take several days to move from one location to another. If a spot yields fish today, there should be few fish around it, so you may have a big catch today but catch nothing tomorrow, even if the weather is the same. Therefore, when winter fishing, if you can tell that someone has fished in the past 2 days, it is better to look for new spots. Author profile: I'm a self-media blogger who loves fishing and is good at sharing. Follow me to exchange fishing skills and discuss every bit of wild fishing for anglers. Give a like, collect, and follow to avoid getting lost in the next update.